1. So, in this day and age, it helps to have a side hustle. Mine in particular is tie-dye. While we are all in isolation, I had to get myself into some sort of hobby that didn't involve a game controller. Nothing against Geralt, Ciri and company, but you can only play The Witcher 3 so many times before it starts to get old. I made a couple of tie-dye t-shirts for my ex-brother-in-law. He's a good guy, best uncle my son could ask for, and as much as he can be a bit of a pain in the butt from time to time, he is still family and I love him all the same. During this time frame, my cousin was staying with my family and renting a room, and he kind of planted the idea in my head to keep at it and to see if I could make some profit. At first, I wasn't too sure. Self-esteem has always been a bit of an issue for me, but I stuck to my guns and practiced away. Before I knew it, I was making aliens on the front shirts and UFOs with tractor beams on the back, Ghostface from the Scream franchise, and all sorts of unique design. You'd have to see to believe. Now, I wasn't going to insert the name of my business here, but at Hellfreezer's discretion, it's called Shit Tie Dyes. I'm sure you can find it through the Googles. Not that I ever watched the show, but I started out on Facebook and had to confuse the algorithm one way or another. The name of my business was kind of, well, thrust upon me in the form of a backhanded compliment during my first public sales event. 20-year-old me would have gotten angry about it. The man I am now just laughed and said, "Thank you, ma'am. I've been struggling and workshopping my business name for the better part of 2 weeks now. But that problem is solved. I'm putting it on bumper stickers and business cards," and I did. Flash forward to September. My former assistant and I are out among a bunch of artisans, chefs, and sellers from all over the country. There was a classic R&B and Motown band playing right across the street from us. Smells from a variety of different types of food permeated the air, and I was reminded of all the reasons as to why I love this festival so much. I've always been an autumn guy. I don't like extreme cold, and I'm clinically Irish. So summer heat and I don't mix. I'm enjoying all of this coupled with the mild weather, and I'm making small talk with a lot of the locals. As nice as it is for me to make sales, I think I enjoy the relaxed atmosphere and fairly nice social interactions just that much more. I feel a bit of pride whenever I see one of my projects out in the wild, and it really does help me with my self-esteem. We're about an hour away from breaking down the tables and the booth when my sister shows up with both of my boys. My oldest son is on the autism spectrum, and being out in public is actually quite a challenge for him, so this was a big thing. I look up, and I see him eyeing down the location until he sees my booth set up right across the street from his godmother's cat rescue. He makes a beeline for me with his hands on his ears as he passes a live band. He darts behind my table and hits me with a hug so hard I almost fall over. Wholesome moment. He says hi to my former assistant, Alan, when he offers my son his chair and offers to grab him a bite to eat because he was heading out to do so himself. After a few minutes, he returns with some fries and a po' boy sandwich, deep-fried oysters, shrimp, gently sautéed greens inside of a toasted roll, with a slightly spicy, tangy sauce. Absolute heaven. My son thanks him before he proceeds to tear into it. I'm getting ready to ask my son if he had anything to eat earlier in the day, but before the question can leave my lips, I hear somebody clear their throat. I turn to see a man, mid to late 50s, 5'10", scrawny build, John Waters mustache, Jeffrey Dahmer glasses, and thinning salt and pepper brown hair pulled back into a really short ponytail. Mind you, I had 3 tables set up and a bunch of shirts hanging up on the frame of my pop-up gazebo, one table and side of which was dedicated to all the different Halloween designs I had made. I also had a collapsible rolling rack full of drawstring trick-or-treat bags I'd made. This man is combing through the selection, and I could see the gears turning. He wanted to get something, but he wasn't necessarily sure what he wanted. "Hello, sir, how are you doing today? Is there anything I can help you with? Any certain design you might be looking for? I'm happy to offer suggestions," is one of my go-to greetings when working with confused customers. He speaks up, This guy sounds eerily identical to Truman Capote.
No. I'm just looking for a design I can give to my wife. Do you have anything flowery?
I'm not nearly as good as a lot of these people you see making designs that are on par with a Tool album. I'm a journeyman at best, and I'm improving as the days go. But the closest thing I could point out to this gentleman was a couple of flower mandalas I made. And they were on the discount table because I wasn't too satisfied with how they turned out. He picks them up and looks at them before putting them back down on the table. All in all, this started out as a fairly normal interaction. That is until he came across my business cards and bumper stickers.
What are those?
He says as he points towards the 2 stacks of these items sitting dead center of my middle table. I pick up a business card and hand it to him. My off-season's going to start in a few weeks, sir, but if you're looking for something specific within that time frame, I do have openings and I can work something out for you if you'd like. Normally, I'm met with a couple of follow-up questions about the reasoning behind my off-season, and I get ready to explain that the colder weather makes it so tie-dye has a harder time setting, if it sets at all. I'm fully prepared to start rattling this out before the gentleman looks at me with a disgusted look after reading my business card. He rolls his eyes and makes a disgusted expression.
I can't believe you would call your business that. It's so inappropriate. You should change it.
He clears his throat again, looks at me, and starts blinking. It's almost as if he expected me to see the light and throw the business cards and bumper stickers I paid quite a fair amount of money for into a trash can before groveling at his feet. He then breaks an unwritten yet cardinal rule and points at my child and asks,
That your son?
I start anticipating the next words coming out of his mouth, and I quickly scan the area for one of the police officers patrolling the festival grounds, just in case. There's a subtle yet noticeable change to the tone of my voice before I answer him. Yes, sir, that is my son. But I fail to see what that map... I'm interrupted before I can even finish what I'm saying.
What kind of example are you setting for him? I'm certain he's old enough to read. I had a lawyer a couple of years ago. His last name was Heine. He had kids too. I told him to change it.
By now I have a couple more customers, but this guy won't move. It's obvious one of those customers was going to buy several of my items because she was just standing there with a stack of them folded over her arm. But I think she honestly heard this man's interaction with me, and she could see the shift in my attitude. She tapped her husband on the shoulder, and he started listening in himself. Yes, sir, he is old enough to read. He's also old enough to watch the news. He's also old enough to doom scroll on social media. I don't let him do that. He's old enough to understand a PG-13 joke when he sees or hears one, and he doesn't go around repeating things. This world is NC-17 at best, and a damn snuff film most of the time. I don't know if you expect Disney and rainbows, Hallmark and honey, but that's not the way the world works. If you can't handle a business card, and you feel it's necessary to bring my son into your little rant, I think I could do without your business. I take the card away from him after ending my rebuttal. I motion to the other booths and actually say, now go be somebody else's problem. He starts backing up and he gets red in the face. I expect him to start blowing up, but then my next customer husband comes back with a police officer. The officer asks if there's a problem, and he tries to say that I overreacted to a question, and then the most unexpected thing happened. My shy, normally quiet son speaks up and repeats the entire conversation verbatim. He then tells the officer my dad got mad because he tried to use me as an example. The officer's eyebrows raise. Ah, thank you, young man. I appreciate your honesty. He turns to ask the man if it's true. He of course denies it, and then my other 2 customers back up my then 10-year-old. The officer tells the man to move it along and stop harassing the sellers. But the moment the word harassment is thrown this man's way, it looks like he's going to blow up again. I don't know what the officer said to him, but I watched as a man cut through an alley and disappeared from the festival grounds for remaining duration. So if you're curious as to how the rest of the event went, swimmingly. It was better than my first year, if I'm being honest. The 2 customers that stood up for me and my son were given a pretty generous discount. They tried to decline it, but I had to do something to show my gratitude. The officer who checked on us to see what was going on had apparently been perusing my booth on his rounds from the moment I finished setting up. A little bit before breaking down, this nice young lady and her 3 children buy some shirts, a Halloween-themed tie-dyed apron, and as they're picking through the trick-or-treat bags on the rack, the officer comes up and says, "See, honey, this is the guy I was telling you about. I don't think I've ever seen anybody make tie-dyed trick-or-treat bags, let alone ones with designs this cool." His family orders commissions from me a few times every season. So, it's reasons like this I really enjoy what I do. Even if it's a side hustle, it's one of my few points of pride. It's helped me bond with my son, introduced me to people I practically call friends, and has helped to put food on my table after more than one particularly insane bill. This is something that I put a lot of time and effort into, and it's helped me in so many ways that are difficult to put into words. But I'm glad I took the chance on this relaxing little hobby of mine. 2. I'm a 50-year-old woman. I rent a place along the river in Ontario, Canada, every year in August for between 10 and 14 days. My rental includes exclusive use of a cabin, private deck with a hot tub, and a furnished gazebo. Mine is the only rental with a gazebo. Just east of my place is another smaller cabin with just a dock and a hot tub. I get back from a quick grocery shopping expedition, and as I'm unpacking my car, a young woman walks up and climbs on my deck. She has obviously either just showered or just gotten out of the hot tub. She's in a bathrobe.
Hi, I just wanted to stop by and tell you that me and my partner will be doing a photo shoot in the gazebo tomorrow morning. Just letting you know as a courtesy, since we will be moving your boats out for the photo shoot. Don't worry, we'll put them back. Now, the gazebo is attached to the deck, which surrounds my rental cabin. My kayaks are in the gazebo when rain is forecast. It's been raining off and on all day. Now, I have exclusive use of the entire area. No one from the other rentals are supposed to come near my area. This info is part of the owner's orientation for all new arrivals. I'm standing at my cabin door with grocery bags in my hands, dumbfounded that she thinks she can take over the gazebo that is part of my rental. So, are you staying here alone, or do you have a husband and kids with you? Do you own the cabin? How much did it cost? How long have you been here?
Bullet quick questions, no pauses for answers. You're in my private space. Please leave.
I'm just being friendly.
No, you're intruding on my space and invading my privacy. Your questions are intrusive and creepy. You will not be doing a photo shoot tomorrow or any time in my gazebo. Please leave now.
No need to get snippy. We are doing the photo shoot tomorrow, so you better not interfere. Given your attitude, I think it's best that you head into town by 8. Don't come back before 2.
Not happening. Get off my deck. Get out of my space now. She stamps her foot.
You're being unreasonable. You're the only one with a gazebo. You need to share.
No, I don't. Leave, now. I went into the cabin, locked the door, and immediately messaged the owner. I've been renting here for years. The owner and I have become friends. They didn't show up for their photo shoot, and the owner had to chase them out of the rental the next morning. They were still in bed an hour past checkout time. 3. My family and I went to Crete on holiday. A lovely, all-inclusive hotel. Close by the beach, decent food, drinks, pool, sunbeds, all of the fun things. The hotel was mainly people from Denmark. Thinking back, I don't actually remember there being anyone else but Danish people. I am from Denmark myself. There was a woman and her husband who also spent the week at the hotel when we were there. The husband was very quiet, and seemed to just be dragged around by her. We got quite upset with her complaining at dinner, her fussy way of marching up to the young holiday guides at the hotel and nagging at them. But we did not mind her much at first. Me and my family love experiencing local culture, and while exploring the city we were in, on top of a tall hill at the back of the city, we found a wonderful local restaurant. It wasn't even really a restaurant, it was a Greek mama who cooked in her kitchen and let people eat on her terrace with a beautiful view of the sea. It was very humble, and the food honest and amazing, just delicious in every way. The mama was so kind and caring and kept coming to interact with us. It was amazing. So we ate a couple of times with her this week. One night, coming back to the hotel, the Karen came marching up to us.
How dare you?
What?
You've paid for your all-inclusive meals and then you don't even eat dinner here.
We paid for it so we can do what we want with it. And if we want to eat somewhere else, we can do that.
Don't you think that is a massive waste?
We're sure they're used to it.
Well, I think it's disrespectful and you ought to know better.
I was just laughing and walking away from her. Well, the next day, her and her husband had booked this hike through a gorge. Samaria Gorge, something like that. You hike through this nature area, then you end up in a rural city, only available either walking there or taking a boat. You then arrive at the city, take a boat, and then bus to get back to the hotel. Well, Lady and her husband weren't exactly fit. The reason we know what happened is because her and her husband were missing at breakfast. When they arrived later, her thundercloud was so heavy the hotel felt it. We then saw a very shaken hotel guide, a girl probably like 18 to 20 years old, coming up to comfort her. She told the story. Well, Karen and husband had taken this hike. Halfway through, their bodies had given up, and they were too far in to return, so they had to wait for a couple of donkeys from the rural city to come pick them up and carry them to the end destination. Once arriving at the city, the last boat had sailed, and so they had to rent an overpriced hotel for the night, and then the next morning take the boat, and then the bus back. Karen was still like a thundercloud for the rest of the day. We didn't hear any more of her. She and her husband stuck to each other in the corners and were more quiet. I feel sorry for them ruining their own holiday, and I'm glad for us they didn't ruin anything, but have since just given us a lot to laugh about. Must be hard to be that entitled. And poor husband. My mind goes out to him. I also have a lot of sympathy for the staff, tour guides, and poor donkeys. Honestly, anyone who has ever had to interact with this woman. 4. English is not my first language, so be kind. I met a guy through my friends group, Tom. He was interested in me, but he lives in another country and comes to visit his family during the summer. We talked sometime through social media. He was clear he wasn't looking for anything formal due to him traveling all the time, and I'm okay with that. He came back this summer, and we met at a party, but him and some of my friends left early to go to a bar, and I was going to meet them there. Let me tell you, I was very interested in him. But when I arrived at the bar, he was already dancing and kissing another girl. Tammy. I didn't know her, but I understood. At the end, we are barely friends with him. So I stepped aside and let them have their night. Tammy was very kind that night, and we met at another party. Now to the incident. Tom left a few days ago, and all of us, my group of friends and I, wanted to go to a bar to hang out together. My very good friend Connor and his girlfriend, Annie, were both excited about me kissing Tom. Actually, all my friends were waiting for that moment, but I knew Tammy was going to arrive later, and I didn't want to make it awkward for anyone, even though Tammy and Tom are not dating, and never saw each other again after that one time, which was a month ago. Connor even asked Tammy if she was still interested in Tom, and she said no. So my friends tried all night to set us up with Tom, which ended up happening. I was having a great night, and Tom as well, but when Tammy arrived, we moved from our table to hers, on the second floor so we could all be together. I asked one of her friends to put my purse on the table to avoid carrying it, but when I looked for it, after some minutes, it wasn't there. The table was against a curtain that goes all the way down to the first floor, so I assume my purse fell. As I was looking for it, Tammy came fuming at me, saying my purse was never there and to look somewhere else. I tried to explain it as fallen to the first floor, and that it was an accident. I wasn't blaming anyone, I knew it was an accident. But she didn't care and kept telling me to go away. She even came to my friend Connor and told him, as loud as she could for me to hear, to kick me out of her table, since she didn't want me there. My friends defended me and told me not to listen to her. Maybe she's drunk already, Annie said. Tom came with me to another section, and we informed the waitress about my purse. Tom was very worried about it, but I was very calm since I knew it was going to get resolved. The waitress found my purse, and everything was in there. It had fallen from the second floor, as I thought. I went to look for Tammy just to inform her I found it, and to apologize in case I made her feel uncomfortable, since she said me looking for my purse triggered her friend, who was from another country. But she dismissed me, and when she left, she said goodbye to everyone but me, making it very obvious. I asked everyone if I did something wrong. Maybe I was dramatic by looking for my purse, but everyone told me I did nothing wrong. This incident ended up ruining the night and making everyone uncomfortable. I felt very guilty and cried myself to sleep that night. My other friend Lily, who left early because she didn't want to be there when Tammy arrived, since Tammy hates her and the other girls in my group for no reason, she told me Tammy was probably jealous about me and Tom, but they never dated or talked after that night they made out, and she said she wasn't interested in him at all. I know it's true, since I saw the messages on the group chat. But I feel bad. I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. So am I in the wrong for losing my purse? Hellfreezer's note. Obviously not. It was something beyond your control, and Tammy's just jealous. 5. Back in college, I was in a friend group with 2 girls, Sally and Greta. Sally and I were kind of on the popular ends of our friend circle, so we only really hung out in a larger group. But Greta was close with us both. After graduation, Greta moved to New York, and Sally and I both ended up in Boston. Being in the same city, we hung out a few times one-on-one, but our friendship never really grew closer. No biggie, we both had our own lives. A year later, I got an amazing opportunity for a job in London. I was on a short list for an in-person interview at their New York office. I called up Greta, asking if I could crash with her for the night. It would give me a bit of breathing room from not flying in and out in one day, plus it would really be fun to catch up. Plan was I'd drive down Friday morning, go to my interview Friday afternoon, have dinner with Greta, spend the night, and drive back to Boston Saturday morning. Greta was all for it. But we got to talking and thought it would be really fun to make it a longer weekend visit and invite Sally. So, the new plan was, Sally and I would drive down on Thursday, have dinner with Greta, entertain ourselves Friday while Greta went to work. I'd pop off to my interview, we'd meet back up with Greta for dinner, spend all of Saturday the 3 of us together, and drive back on Sunday. Cool. Everyone was on board. Sally insisted on driving because she didn't think she'd be comfortable in my car. No biggie, I took an extra day off work, kicked in some money for gas, and we were off. We had a great time Thursday evening. Greta's place was in Brooklyn, but her office was in Manhattan, only a few blocks from where I'd be having my interview. So Friday morning, I packed a change of clothes and my presentation materials, and we took the train to Greta's job with her. I left my stuff there, and Sally and I went to do some touristy stuff, after which we came back to Greta's office so I could change and fix my makeup. The plan was for Sally to come with me to my interview and hang out somewhere nearby. Afterward, we would reconnect with Greta and get dinner. But apparently while I was changing in the bathroom, Sally went and got herself a Godiva chocolate. When I came out and said we needed to go, she snapped at me. She said she just paid money for this chocolate and she's going to enjoy it in air conditioning. It was a sweltering New York City summer, and that not everything was about me. I was floored. No, not everything was about me. We had a whole girls' weekend that wasn't about me, but this next couple of hours, this interview, was absolutely about me. It was the whole reason we were in New York in the first place. Now, I always suspected Sally had a complicated relationship with food. She was a major control freak and a downright bully when it came to planning meals, but I never spent enough time with her to really push back. I just typically let her have her way, but I couldn't miss a job interview over a damn chocolate. I didn't say all this to Sally, I just told her I can go on my own while she hangs at Greta's office, and I will be back to meet them both after, and that's what I did. When I came back, both Sally and Greta were absolutely annoyed at me for abandoning Sally, a grown woman, for 2 hours at an architectural landmark. so there was plenty for Sally to do. Dinner that night was stiff. On Saturday, they continued to freeze me out like a couple of high school mean girls. Mid-afternoon, I made some excuse and told them I'll take the train back. Sally and Greta were angry about that too. Apparently, Sally magnanimously drove me to New York, but when I got done with my stuff, I selfishly left her to drive back alone. I got the job in London and never saw Sally again. I still connect occasionally with Greta, but only through mutual friends. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Idiots in the Wild, episode 176. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you'd like to support the channel, we have a new way for you to do that. You can do that through memberships, and of course Patreon still exists as well. They are both structured differently, so there's different options. Patreon is pay what you feel, you get early access to the videos, and memberships has 3 different tiers with different bonuses at each tier. There's also the Hellfreezer merchandise store on Teespring, and we also have a Discord server just for fun. Okay, I don't think we have any other business today, so let's move along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is... And today's question comes thanks to Newcomb via the Discord, and that is, at what age did you stop going trick-or-treating? I can't remember, but I think I was young. Definitely in my teens. Possibly early teens? Very early teens? Yeah. I don't recall doing it. Definitely not past 15, probably quite a bit younger than that. I'm going to say 12. I don't remember exactly, but I was very young when I stopped going trick-or-treating. I guess I just lost interest in it. Walking around, knocking on strangers' doors, trusting that they're not going to be weird creeps and yell at you. That did happen once. I still remember it. Anyway, let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And today's answer comes from Idiots in the Wild 131 and was, what is the most disappointing, but ultimately surprising, interaction you've had with the business, as in it ultimately worked out quite well, unexpectedly. And today's answer comes from Craftsman Cottage Chick. I had always heard horror stories about returning things to Amazon, so I was a little leery about calling them and telling them that what I had ordered was not what had arrived, not even close. No problems at all, they told me to keep the package and sent out what I had ordered. Since then, I believe I have probably done another half-dozen returns, and I never had an issue. Always chat with pleasant and helpful CSRs. I might hate the villain, but I love the minions. I like that. Thank you very much for your answer, Craftsman Cottage Chick. I've had kind of mostly okay interactions with Amazon. Sometimes, if they've messed up something, they'll give me a voucher, which is always nice, but I never go in looking for that. I just want the thing resolved. There was one time they did literally, it's only happened once, thankfully, literally sent me the wrong item. I thought, did I order the wrong item? Because that can happen. So I went and I checked my order, and what I'd done is I'd ordered a Western Digital Black mechanical hard drive for my computer. They sent me the blue one. The difference is the black one's faster, the blue one's a bit slower. I can't remember the exact RPM, but I think it's 72 something and 50 something on the blue. I'd have to look the numbers up. And I was actually kind of annoyed that they wanted me to go through the trouble of sending them the wrong item back when they sent it to me in the first place. Because I would have put it to use as just as a backup drive. But in the end, I packaged it up, sent it back to them, and they sent the right one out. So it did work out ultimately, and I was able to get my computer up and running again, because that's what I needed it for. Because hard drives are sadly consumables. You need to replace them now and again. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.